guys, welcome back to Boots and Bounty Homestead. If you caught my recent post on Instagram, you saw that we have this beautiful fabric here that I am going to make something out of. Bringing you here tonight to take you along as I see if this is going to work out. I'm going to try to make it best that I can. So, I don't know how many of you guessed, and I haven't seen a correct guess yet, but we are going to make one of those long cloaks out of this DKNY curtain. It's 2 panels. They are 3 or 4 foot wide, and I'm going to say probably the 74 inches long. So I should be able to, or maybe 84. I should be able to make one of the cloaks that I made, the gray one, the gray and red one on, that I posted on Facebook and Instagram. And we're going to see how this is going to work out. I have not laid it out yet. The only thing I did do was I went ahead and right here where the bottom hem is and the spot where the rod goes on the top, I went ahead and picked that loose because that actually gives me an extra 3 inches on one end and an extra inch or so on the other. So I want to make sure I can get the full length of it to make sure I get it as long as possible. So I'm going to first lay this out. There's one piece that needs to be cut on the fold, so I need to go ahead and make sure that's going to fit. And then there's 3 other pieces that just need to have 2 cut so it doesn't have to be on the fold. So I'm still going to fold them in half so I can get that top and bottom layer. So as I cut through those pieces, I'll get 2 pieces out of it. And the one that's on the fold will go on that fold in the middle of the curtain. I'll show you what I mean in just a second. Let me show you a picture of what I'm going to make. I'll show you the pattern that I'm using, and then I'll show you the pieces and get it all laid out. So first of all, I'm going to show you the pattern that I'm using. It is a Simplicity, the number 8263, and I'm going to be making letter C. Now to show you what that looks like, it's this one right here. But, and I think it's the one she's wearing. The one she's wearing is B, but it turns out, no, that is the one I'm making. This is B, the one here. So this is the one I'm making, but I'm going to make mine down to here. Now, of course, these models for these pictures are tall, so I'm actually going to make mine probably to right about here on her, which will be down here on me. So, and why I like this one is because it has these simple little armholes right here that where your hands go. You can stick your arms through there. And then it has an optional collar that you can put on either regular or fur, and just has the simple little latch here. I'll go and get my other cape or cloak and show you what it looks like. And for this one, if I have enough material, I'm actually going to make a hood to go on this one. Now, I don't have a hood on here to use as a pattern, but I've kind of been thinking it up in my head, and I think I figured it out. So if I have enough material, I want to make a hood to go on the back of this one. And if not, I may even find a coordinating color where I could do that with. So let me show you the pieces real quick that we have to work with in order to make this cloak. So inside the pattern and on the instructions, it tells you which pattern pieces to cut out. Now on here, these can be used for A, B, or C on certain pieces, and we are making the one for B. So we're going to be using the ones that have all the letters B. And there's only 4 pieces. And let me show you in order. No particular order. So the first piece here, this will be the front, basically right here, the front. And you have to have 2 pieces, one here, one here. So as we fold it in half, then we'll have those 2 layers to cut for the 2 pieces. If you do have a directional pattern on some different patterns, you have to make sure that maybe your dogs are sitting right and they're not upside down on the way that you cut it. Just keep that in mind as you're doing patterns. On this material, It doesn't really matter. It may be directional in the way that it feels, the way that you rub it. I'll check that out once I get there. So there's the first piece, and that's the front. Here's the back, and the back is going to be cut on the fold, meaning you put it, like whenever you fold it in half, you're going to put this side on the fold. So whenever you cut it, you're cutting 2 layers, but then it's on the fold, so it'll be one solid piece, if that makes sense. And then here we have the side front, which is the shoulder piece, but it's going to go on the side. And then here is the side back, which is the piece that's going to be connecting to this. Whenever you put these together, it'll make your shoulder piece. And then your front piece will go here, and then the back will go around the back. So both of these you have to cut 2 pieces because you have a left and a right. So that'll be 2 pieces for those. Now, there is a piece of pattern here for the collar. This is a detachable collar on this particular pattern. On my other one, I just sewed it, like whenever we get to where we sew around the edge, the facing to the material on the outside, I left the top open and I just sewed it inside so it's not detachable. Now this one, like I said, I'll either do the collar again like I did on the last one, or I will see if I can make a hood and I will still attach it the same way. So we've got to get the material laid out and folded in half lengthwise, which will be the 2 long sides we're going to fold in half to make it one skinny long piece, and see what we can actually get out of this material. So I'm going to set you guys up where you can watch me fold this in half and lay the pattern out. Okay, so for this section, well, there's 2 panels here. I'm going to put one in the floor. And so here we have the curtain. This is the end where the rod went. This end right here was where the rod went. So we are going to fold this in half like this. And like I said, I have already picked the spot where the rod went. I went ahead and picked that out. So it gave me about 3 more inches. So we're going to lay this out, fold it in half and lay it out. And it's pretty long. I think it's an 84-inch curtain. All right. So for now, I'm going to tentatively pin all of this down, and I'm probably not going to explain too much. Basically, with these patterns, not that one, but with these patterns here, I'll explain. I'm cutting out the biggest one, which is an extra large, just because I like the bigger cloaks, and because I'm so broad-shouldered. But here they have an arrow right here in the middle, and that tells you which way to put it to flow with the grain of the material. Now the grain of the material runs this way and runs this way, and so when it runs this way, it's sideways like this. Whenever it runs this way, it runs like this. So basically you're laying down kind of thing on a table. So this is from one end to the other on all of these, on all 4 pieces. So that's why I'm folding it in half and laying them out longwise. So the first piece I want to lay out is going to be the back, since it has to be cut on the fold. And whenever it tells you to cut it on the fold, right here it's going to tell you, on here center fold, but it's also got 2 arrows that point to the outside. And basically that's where the fold is going to be. And what that means is, I'll scoot this down here. And what that means is you're simply putting this on the fold, just like that. And then we're going to pin it. Oh, and I wanted to tell you too, guys, I got this curtain for $4.99 at Goodwill. And if I'm not mistaken, this was an orange day, so I may have even gotten both of these panels for $2.50 total. Beat that. Alright, so with this, I'm going to go ahead and pin this down. And then I'm going to move on to laying out my other pieces because I think I'm actually going to have enough for a hood. So let me go ahead and pin these pieces out and we'll see how far we get. One more thing I want to throw out here real quick. Now, I told you I was going to lengthen this. Now, with my other cloak, I added 20 inches to this. And that made it darn near to the ground. Like, I have to pick it up sometimes. It may be like a half an inch or so off the ground. So with this one, being that it's so pretty, I don't want it to get messed up. So I'm actually going to add 16 inches to it. And whenever I go to cut this out, I'm just going to take my yardstick and put it on the end of this, because this is the bottom, this is the top. I'm going to put it on the bottom of this and then add 16 inches. And on the shoulder pieces, you will see me, whenever I lay them out, because they're at an angle like this, I'm going to actually put the yardstick down to follow that angle and then add the 16 inches in line with the angle of whatever the material is. So that way it keeps that continuous flow to make the big bottom. So that you'll also see me do that real quick. So let me go ahead and pin this, make sure I have enough room for everything, and then we're going to go back and get it cut out. Alright, time out. So this is what I was saying. Before I lay this piece out, the bottoms kind of flare out to make that big bottom. So before I lay my front piece over here and cut it out like you seen me do, I'm going to go ahead and measure my 15 or 16 inches down. Move this chair. Alright. So from the bottom here, I'm going to go ahead and measure and do my 16-inch mark there and go across, because this does have a little curve to it. Not too much, but it does have a little curve. And I'm going to go ahead and mark to see, make sure I've got enough material. Now, I'm moving this up because I've got to get my angle. Now you can move this up however far you want to, or you can actually turn it over and then mark it here at 16 inches and then put your ruler to follow your pattern and then draw your line down to the bottom of the yardstick. So here I've got marked out, and I'm going to go ahead and finish drawing this across so I can tell where to cut. And that will make my bottom piece. Okay, what I'm going to do is pin the bottom here. And if I have to, I can pick out this seam over here, and this will give me another couple of inches to move it over if I need to. So I'm going to pin this right here and then pull it back up to mark the bottom. I think it's not going to work. Let's see, put it on 16 right there. And it's going to cross over about a half an inch down here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pick this side out, and that'll give me some more room, so that way I can still have them on the same side. Okay, so if you need to at this time, go ahead and iron it open. And if not, that'll be okay too. Okay, so what we're going to do is just move this over. got the back put on the fold. We've got the extra 16 inches added with the pencil. So now we've got the front here. And we are going to go ahead and mark the bottom. So here we're going to put 16 at the bottom of this pattern. Line the side up. And then we're just going to draw a line and to sharpen this. All right. So we got the front and the back. We're going to move this on down. Let this fall off in the floor. And then we'll start right here doing the two sides. Now we're going to have to keep these directional as well. I am going to pin, I'm just going to put a pin right here to hold this together because I don't want it to start shifting on us since we've already got these drawn out. Just going to stick these pins in here to hold it still. These have the widest bottoms, so we might not can get both of them on here because I don't have but just a few inches left here. So let's do one at a time and kind of rough draft it. Now these you'll have to watch the arrow here because you can't put it straight like this. It has to go kind of sideways because whenever it falls, it's going to fall straight down, but it's going to be kind of towards the front diagonal side or the back diagonal side. So you have to look at your arrows here for your direction. And it looks like most of this is going to be taken up by the 16 inches we're going to add. So this one goes pretty straight down on this side. This one angles, has a pretty big angle on it. So I'm going to scoot the pattern this way just a little bit. So that way I'll have enough to add 16 that way. So tentatively, let's go ahead and pin the bottom here and let's see how the bottom's going to flow. And let's mark our 16 inches. So let's just put some pins here. And then let's pull it on down. Make sure we've got enough room. If not, I think I got a little room I can scoot it up. So I need 3 extra inches. And let's see if I got that. If not, this is going on the other one. Okay. So see here, I don't have the extra 3 inches to scoot up because this is the bottom of the front and this is the point. So I don't have 3 inches to scoot it up. So both of these are going to have to go on the other panel I have laying in the floor. Yay! Which means I'm going to have enough for a hood. Yay! So before we cut this out though, let's go ahead and get the other one marked just to make sure that we're going to have enough because I'd hate to cut my front and back out and not have my shoulders. And don't forget directional. Okay, so this is actually going the same way as the other one. Yeah. Alright, so let's do this again. And we're going to go ahead and measure 16 inches up from the bottom of this one. Just to give us enough room. So the bottom of this one's going to need to be right about there. Get our arrow lined up. Alright, let's make sure I'm going to have enough room over here. I may have to scoot it over some. Okay, I'll have enough there. Alright, so what I'm going to do is slide this down. And I'm going to go ahead and pin this point down here. Okay, so we got both these pieces pinned down. We got the extra 16 inches added on. Now, if you watched as I was doing the yardstick, you have to kind of keep it with the flow of how it turns. Like start out this way, and then as you come in, you'll have to kind of tilt it that way. Kind of like it's turning on a pivot, which would be the shoulder up here. That's what you're mimicking. So got to make sure that you get that rounded edge. If not, your bottom, when you go to hem it, is going to be all kinds of wonky, and you're going to have to go back and fix it anyways, or cut extra off. So I've got these two laid out. I've got the front and back laid out over there. I've got plenty of material, and I've got extra that I'm going to be able to do the hood with. So I'm excited about that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out now. Again, I want to reiterate, this is a directional fabric. By the feel of it, the fabrics run down. So whenever you rub up, it's like those sequins you flip over. That's what it feels like. It's rough whenever you rub up. So I've got everything pinned to where everything rubs down from top to bottom. I'm going to go ahead and get all of this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and get all of this stuff cut out, and then we will be ready to sew it together. Okay guys, sorry I got hot. I had to come out of that sweater. So we've got all four pieces cut out. The front right here. And then we've got the back one piece here. And then our two front left and right, and our two back side left and right. Now the extra material here is going to be for the hood. I know how big to make it. I just need to figure out how tall I'm going to make it. I want to go ahead and get this put together. So whenever I cut this out, I want to be able to fit it appropriately to the neck of the cloak. And on my old one, which I forgot to show you, on my old one, I measured the neck to be 10 inches from the back center to the front points. And I want to make sure this one's going to come out the same. I need to go ahead and cut out the black facing for it like I did in my other one. Let me get it real quick and I'll show you it. So for those of you that haven't seen it yet, this is my first one. And it goes around like this. I have a clasp that I fix right there. And then here's the hand holes, basically. I still have to go back and either figure out how to put pockets on this or on the inside. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it just yet. But this is the two panels. This is a front panel. This is the back panel for the sides. This is the front panels. And then the one big back panel. And this is the collar that I did for it. I did follow that pattern, and I just made a black one. This material wasn't long enough, so I did add just some gray, red, and black plaid on the bottom. And this was 20 inches extra. And it goes basically to the ground. So this one's going to be about 4 inches shorter, which will make it just above my ankle. And the inside, this is the facing that I'm going to be putting also probably on the inside of this one as well. And it's just a real cheap, I think it was like $4.99 a yard. I think I ended up getting 8 yards, so I had enough to make more than one. And I didn't have to make a couple trips to the store. And this is just a real soft facing, or facing that I'm going to put on the inside, or liner. It's a liner. I have to cut out the same pieces that I did for this one. I have to cut out for that one. Basically make 2 cloaks, turn them inside out, and sew them together. Alright guys, I'm not going to do a step-by-step tutorial on how to sew this together. That's what the instructions are for in the pattern. So, I mean, you can't really make this without the pattern anyway, so might as well have the instructions. I'm going to follow the instructions. I'll briefly read through them to you and tell you how I'm going to sew them together per the instructions. And it's fine. And then, of course, if you buy the pattern, then you'll have them yourself. So, basically, what we're going to do is we are going to sew the front, one of the front pieces, and yes, the front pieces. Okay, we've got to stay stitch the neck, which means we're going to do just a simple basting stitch around the curved part of the neck so it doesn't stretch. So we're going to do that first, and then also to the back piece, the curved part of the neck, we're going to stay stitch it, which is just a basting stitch to hold it. Now on the back, what you want to do is go from the shoulders down to the front or down to the center. So on the back, we're going to start on each shoulder and go into the center of the neck. On the front piece, we're going to go from the shoulder to the middle of the cloak, right at the neck. So we're going to do that first. And then we are going to sew, I got to look at the number of the pieces. 3 is the side front. So one side front to the front piece. So you've got to do a left with a left front and a right side front to a right front. Very important, you look at your sides. And there are dots. I'll show you right here. There's dots on the pattern itself, the one that we pinned down and cut around. There's 2 dots, and you're going to have to mark them on the fabric so you don't sew across them on the front piece, because that's your pockets. So it looks like this. So there's 2 dots on the side front piece and the front piece. There's 2 dots. We're going to sew above it and below it, but we've got to leave the little hand holes open. And then we are going to do the back left side and the right back side, and we sew those to the back. And then we sew the back to the front. Yes. Okay. And then I gotta find my lining, and then use my pieces, cut them out again, and do the exact same thing again. So I'm gonna find my pieces on here, and I'm gonna prop my instructions up. I prop them up back here behind the sewing machine so I can see them. And there's numbers on the pieces we cut out. This one is, let me cut this light on. You might can see a little bit better. Maybe, maybe not. There it goes. Okay, there is a number 3 right here. So the 3 is also on the instructions. And I may go through a pattern one day and show y'all how to read these things. But it tells you for whichever one you're cutting out, which we're cutting out B, it tells you which numbers to use. Like this is 3 and 9 and 12 and 8, I believe, is all we used. And it tells you on here how many to cut of the fabric, how many cut of the lining. So I mean, it's all on here. And then on the instructions, it tells you how to sew it together in what order. So I'm gonna find, I've got to do 12 and 8. So I'm gonna find them in here. This is 3. And this is why I fold them with the numbers up. So like this right here is 3, which I'm not doing right now. This is 9, which I'm not doing right now. And this one is 12, and I folded this one backwards. This is why I don't fold them like this. I know better. This one is 8, so this is the back. And we're gonna need this one, and we're gonna need the front, because we gotta do the stay stitching around the neck. So I will line you up here, guys, get my thread set, and I'm gonna get to sewing. I'm not gonna try to keep you a whole lot on sewing this together. But as I get to different stages of sewing different things together, there are a couple of things that I do want to notate. Because there's little notches on the patterns, and I want to show you guys how to line those up. And on here, I'm going to go ahead and mark my hand holes. And this one's, I laid this one out backwards. You can lay them out either way, just as long as you are conscious of or aware of your fabric, the way it lays or whatever. I didn't pin both of these. So here is the little dot. If you guys can see that. On here, there is a circle right here. See it right there? Has an XL in it because I'm making an extra large. There is an S right here for small. This is the small and extra large pattern. There's another number for the medium and large. So that would be a whole different, another pattern that you would cut out other than this one. But this one is the extra large for view B, which is B. That's what we're making, Cape B. And this one is extra large. So I'm going to put a little pin right there, because I've got to take this pattern off. I can't sew it with it on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a pin in this side. Taking my fabric apart here. Right there where that is, I'm going to put a pin to tell me to stop sewing right there. And then there is one right here. I'm just going to use this one since it's close. And put one in the fabric just to tell me to stop sewing. So I'm just putting a pin right there that tells me to stop sewing right there. Okay, so now I'm going to flip it over because there's another piece over here since we cut 2 out at a time. And I'm just going to put one right here as well on this side, and then one for down here. That's the only thing that we have to mark as of where not to sew kind of thing. So like I said, I'm going to take this pattern off, and I am going to stay stitch the neck, which is just a large basting stitch, or the longest or widest straight stitch on your sewing machine. I'm sorry if you guys don't sew, or if you're learning. I'm trying to explain and not just use sewing terminology all the time, because I want you guys to understand if you are, you know, wanting to learn. Okay, so we're done with this pattern, or this numbered pattern. We're going to go ahead and put it to the side because we still got to go cut the lining out. We just got to remember which pieces are which, okay? Like your fronts and sides and all that, which should be fairly easy. Okay. Now for the stay stitch, like I said, the curve of the neck right here, this curve right here, you can't even see. Okay, this curve right here is what we're going to stay stitch. And I'm just going to put it on B, which is a basting stitch, or it could be like a 6 or an 8, something like that. And I've got white on here. I'm going to go ahead and I guess just use what's on here. Use the white that's on here because this is not going to be seen. Now whenever I get to hemming it or sewing anything with the outside, then I'll change to the matching gray color. But we're just going to stay stitch, and you sew from the shoulder down. And your basting stitch has to be a little bit shallower, like narrow. On your pattern, it's going to tell you, let me see if I can find it. Okay, for the sewing part. Okay, it says sewing. It says right here, stitch at 5/8 of an inch seams unless otherwise stated. Okay, so on your pattern, on your thin paper pattern, it will tell you what to stitch it as. So for the basting stay stitch, I'm going to do a 1/2 inch because 5/8 is bigger than 4/8, which is a half, because you want it to be hidden. So if you are sewing all of your outside stuff at 5/8, you want your inside stuff to be less so you don't see it, if that makes sense. So I'm going to do the stay stitch real quick at a 1/2 inch. And you can back stitch this as well. Take your time going around curves. On this one, I go from end to end because it doesn't tell me otherwise. There are some that'll say start down here. Like this is the top. It'll say like start down here and then sew to over here where it doesn't go all the way to the ends. This one doesn't state that, so I'm just sewing from end to end. And then we're going to do the same thing on this one. Start from the shoulder and go down. Okay, then we've got to do that to the back. Same thing around the neck, but sew from the shoulders to the middle of the neck. So let me take all this off. Okay, so we're going to sew from the shoulders to the middle. So you're going to do 2 at a 1/2 inch. Okay, so this is the back. We don't need this at the moment. Lay that with the number 9 or the side back. And then we need to get the side front. Now, also on the side front, don't forget we've got to mark our handholes. So we will go ahead and do that real quick. And those little circles are right here. Alright, let's go ahead and finish taking this off. Alright, I want to show you here, if you can see. There are little notches that we had to cut out. There is one right here. Let's see if you can see that. There's one right here. And then there's 2 over here. There's one right here and one right here. Okay, now those are to help you line it up so you don't have to keep track of left and right and all that stuff. So we're going to find, here's the neck, so here's the shoulder. One of these pieces is going to be sewn here on this side, because here's the neck right here, here's the shoulder. So this is the front side. So we need to find the one that's going to line up with this notch here and lay face to face. Okay, so this is my corner, and if I lay right sides together and then line mine up, these notches do not line up. There's one here and one down here. So this is not the right shoulder piece. So this one, if we line the corner up here, and then this piece, see, those notches line up. So these go together. All right, I'm gonna put a pin in this because this is a curve. Curves take practice to sew. Okay. Now I'm gonna pin this from that notch back to the shoulder, because since it's a curve, you kind of have to play with it a little bit. Okay, so that is together. Now the rest of this I am going to just hold together because the rest of it matches up. Alright, so we are going to tighten our stitch up a little bit. I'm going to go to about a 10. And then from here on out, I believe everything's going to be sewn at a 5/8 of an inch. Whenever you get to your dots down here where your hands go out, make sure you stop. I'm going to take one pin out and leave the other in so I can see it. And I'm just going to back stitch there to hold it. And then we're going to take it out. Okay, now we're going to move on down to the next little handhold. Take one out, leave one in. Make sure it's all lined up. And we're good to go again. Okay, so that side is done. And now what's left is the other shoulder. So let's get those lined up. Okay, so we've got the front and the front side done. So now we've got to sew the back and the back sides together. So here we've got the back, and again it's going to be the same thing. You've got a double notch here. Okay, so we've got this one, the back piece, on the wrong side, and then we've got this one turned upward. The double notch is on this side right here. And a double notch is one of the bigger single notches. And there's a double notch here. So if we put these together, then that double notch will line up. So the other piece will go on the other side. So we're going to pin these just like we did the front because it's on a slight curve. Not as big as the front. Well, I thought my battery died, but it didn't. I might not even push the record button. Okay, so I just sewed the back side panels to the back panel. And it looks like this. There's the back panel, there's the side panel, there's the side panel. Now, we are going to sew the front. Here's the front and a shoulder. And then there's another front and a shoulder. So we're fixing to sew these together. Now, whenever you sew a shoulder to the back shoulder, we are going to open up those seams and allow them to lay flat. It just makes for a prettier seam on the outside. Okay, so I'm going to sew the front and shoulder panels that we sewed together. I'm going to sew those to the back panels, keeping the seams open like this, keeping them open as I sew across them on the front and the back. Okay, here is the lining. Now it looks backwards at the moment because, you know, this is going to go like this. The cloak is going to go on top of it. So what we've got to do now is put right sides together on the lining and the cloak here. So whenever we sew this together, I'm going to leave the neck right here. I'm going to leave the neck part open so I can come back and figure out how to put the hood on, how to do the hood and all that stuff. And then we're not going to flip it just yet. So it's going to be, I'm going to wait until I get the hood done and figure out how to put it on. And then we will flip it all at once. Let's go ahead and sew these two pieces together. So they'll be right sides together. So that means all the seams like these and these are going to stick out. That's all you're going to see. You're not going to see anything on that's supposed to be on the outside. It's going to be inside out basically. So let's figure out the top from the bottom. It's almost like quilting, it's so much material. I'll just kind of have to put this together as I go. Now once I get near the bottom hem around the bottom, I will just kind of eyeball it as I go because I know not all of it's going to match just because of where the seams fell. So also on this, I'm not going to start at the top. I'm not going to start at the very edge. I'm actually going to start. Let's see if I can show you guys. I'm not going to start at the very edge. I'm going to start down probably about an inch or so and start sewing from there, just in case I need to adjust anything with the hood part of it. Okay, so now we've got a whole bunch of strings. We've got the front and the back sewn together. Alright, so now we've got to make the hood. So, looking at the hoods that are on TV, I guess you could say TV. Like if you watch Outlander or something like that. They have the hoods that drape, you know, down quite a bit. So I think they are pretty much square. Like they're square from the side. Like if they were to hold them like straight up, I believe they are going to be square. And you could probably, I know with the neckline here, we're going to have to make it at least halfway around. I may have to show you. Okay, so like the middle of the back. See, like here's the neckline. Okay, so the middle part right here, if it's straight, that is what the hood is going to have to be on one side and the other. Because you've got to do, it's going to have to be one side and then the other, and then we've got to sew it together, if that makes sense. So you have one square on one side. That's the width of this at this half at the bottom. Okay, I'll just use a soft one. Alright, so the neckline, if I put this at half, which is right there. I'm gonna try not to unroll this big old long thing. And then if we do it, see there, and then straight. Yeah, it's like right at 10 inches. So if I take that same 10 inches, let's see, it'll be that around like halfway around the neck, okay? Then we've got to measure from, say, the back of your neck where it's going to be. And I'm going to say probably 15 or 16. Because I want it loose to where it's going to, y'all see that hang down like that? I want it to hang down like that. I'll say probably 15 or 16. So right here it'll be like, it'll have that droop to it like that. You know what I mean? So let's go cut it 10 by 16 of, need 2 of the outside fabric and 2 of the lining. I'm gonna have to cut it. I'm gonna do 11 by 17. A 10.5 by 17. Okay, let's go figure this out. Okay, so here I've got just an extra scrap. I don't have the one that I saved for the hood. This is just extra. I want to do a test run on this first to make sure that it's going to come out right. Now, I did measure 17 up, and it's like 12 inches. And it actually already has a hem around the outside. I'm not gonna worry about that. So, let's see, right here. I'm just gonna do some rough marking real quick, kind of get my lines drawn out for cutting. Okay, so I've got the square cut out. What I'm going to do is just do a rough draft to see if I like it. We can make adjustments from there. Okay, so I'm going to sew across the top, and I'm going to do a 1/2 inch. All right, and then I'm going to sew down one side. Okay. Let's see. What? See, I want it deeper. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so this is going to go around the neck. Like this. And then this is going to be the hood. I don't like that. I want it deeper and taller. I want it a lot deeper. Okay. I could make it big, like (24 by 24). Let's see. Yeah, that's not deep enough for me. Okay. So this is 17. Like 24 by... Because I want this to hang down. Yeah. Let's go cut out 24 by 24. Or be 25 by 25. Let's do that. And that way, if I don't like it, I can always cut down. Let me see if I can Google the hood measurements. Alright, so I made a 24 by 24. And then I just kind of rounded this edge off because I didn't want that big point. So I'm just going to sew around these two sides just around the curve, leave the bottom open, and then of course this is going to go around my face. So I'm going to sew this together and then we'll look at it together, see if we like it. I'm going to do a 1/2 inch. I'm going to leave everything with the hood 1/2 inch just to make it easy. So let's flip this around inside out. Okay. This is a big hood. So it'll be like that. And this will be all attached under that. Yeah. So that'll be like that. And then the hood. It's hard to do one-handed. The hood is going to be like that. Oh, I love it. That's what I want. That's what I want. Okay. So, I'm going to take this and then go lay it on the liner and cut the lining out because I need the lining to go inside as well. Be right back. Alright, I've got this cut out. Just going to go ahead and sew around it. Okay, so this is the face opening. I'm going to put it together with this face opening. Put a couple pins in it right here to open up this seam. I'm going to do a 1/2 inch seam here as well. Right. I think I sewed that the right way. Okay, we're going to turn this inside out. And I am going to sew around the edge just to what do you say? Make a crisp edge. I'm just going to pull it tight, and then I'm just going to let it follow my foot, the outside of my foot here. Just makes a crisp edge. Alright, and that makes a really pretty finished edge. Right up here. This is the seam from the curtain. Right up there. And it'll hold that lining down in place. Okay, now we gotta figure out how to attach it. I think I know what I'm gonna do. So, if we sew across here, gather it up, we can put it, let me think about it. We could do that, and I could still cover it up with bias tape, I guess. Give me a second, let me think about it. Okay, I believe I can sew across the bottom and gather this up like we did on the skirt and stick it in the neck, sew it shut, and then pull it out the handhole. That's what I did last time. Okay, let's get to work. So we've got to put it on a basting stitch Doesn't really matter where we do it. Let's do it at a 1/2 inch, and I'm gonna start on the, like this is the seam for the outside. I'm gonna start just on the inside of it at a 1/2 inch. Don't backspace. Back stitch. Don't back stitch. Okay, so when we get here, let's open up these seams. Don't backstitch. So, gray was on the bottom. That's our bobbin. We'll have to hold it and start sliding everything in. And we will have to get it to 10 inches, or 10 inches. So that's what we measured. So half of this is going to go to 10, and then the other half is going to go to 10. I have no clue what that is, but we're going to start on this end and start with the gray on bottom. Okay, let's see if it fits. Just have to make sure the black side is on the black side and the gray side is on the gray side. We're gonna shove this inside of the cloak. Okay. Now one side, this is the reason why we didn't sew it all the way up to the top. Alright, plenty of pins. Pin one side and then pin the other. Now we need to find the middle seam, which is right here. And we need to make sure that it is in the middle on both sides. And then pin it. See if it fits. So this is where you may have to pull it tighter just a little bit to get it to fitting. Take it slow, nice and easy. And I'm still going to sew this at 1/2 inch because I can't really control the ruffles on the inside. Well, let me see. Oh, here's a hole. I can go in the hand hole and kind of help hold it straightened out a little bit, I guess. All right. Whew, let's do this. Now, fingers crossed it turns out the way it's supposed to. All right. Here goes nothing. So I have a hand hole right here. I'm going to try to start pulling the hood through. I just gotta close up the hands.
Put pockets on.
We'll
Talk
see.
about the other one.
We'll see.
I'm gonna start dishes.
Okay. Oh, I'm so excited about this one. Get it all pulled through here. This is like turning a quilt. All right. All right, so what I'm gonna go ahead and do is like we did around the hood. I'm gonna go ahead and do the edging real quick. So just in case y'all missed that, I do not have any hand holes in my lining because I forgot to do it. So I'm just lining these up and putting a pin kind of tentatively where the holes need to be, and then I will stitch it closed by hand anyways, and I'll line it up at that time. So I'm just going back through here, and I actually did this on the first one too. I get ahead of myself. It's not much I hadn't done that I can't fix. I do try to be aware of what I'm doing and think ahead. Now, so what we need to do is so from the back here, I am going to, well, I could just do it from here. Fold this under, and I'm going to kind of pin this down the 5/8 of an inch where it was sewn. Pin it down because the opening has to match like the seam that we sewed these together with. So I'm just kind of pulling these corners down here, and it's just tightening it up for me. Alright, now let's do the other side. So you can hold it up like this on the seam, just hold it up and pull it, and it'll fold itself over where it's supposed to be. You can actually iron this if you want to iron it flat. I don't know that I want to iron this material. I do good sewing it. I don't know about ironing it. Okay, and then so for the lining, we do the same thing. Just find that seam there. And this is a little bit easier with this side if you iron it. But that's okay. And if you're like me and forgot to put the armholes in when you cut it out, you can just follow your thread line from where you picked it out, because it's more than likely still in there. Probably still have little thread remnants that you can follow. Now I'm doing this out a little bit closer because it does tend to come undone a little bit easier. You don't have to watch this, and we'll do this on both sides. And I can bring you back whenever we get to, because we have to hand sew this shut. Alright guys, I have this one pinned up, and I wanted to show you, I have it offset just a little bit where the black is not actually even with the gray, it's offset just a little bit. And that's so I can hand sew the black down and it not show on the other side. So all I'm going to do is just what we call a whip stitch, and that's just about every ½ inch, I'll just go through here and catch it. And I don't know if it's really anything to show you much, but I'm going to start between the fabrics. I'm going to go down and through the black. So as I sew, I can hide my little tail here between the fabrics. Okay, so I'm just going to go up to the gray and catch it on the back side. Let me take this pin out. Too many threads here, hang on. Okay. Alright, so I went in the black right here on this side. I went in the black that way. And then I'm going to pull my little tail along the fabric so I can just kind of tuck it in between there and hide it. So then I'm going to catch my gray on the back side, but not going through it. And then poking it through the black diagonally. So I come out at a spot that's a little bit farther down the line. Okay, so then it come out right here. Right here. I am going to move down about 1/4 inch on the gray and do something like that, where I go in the gray and diagonally across and come out of the black. And I'm going to do that all the way around, and I don't pull it tight. You don't need it tight because it'll pucker the fabric if you pull it too tight. We just want this to lay on top of each other and be secure so that it doesn't come apart. So this ain't got to be pretty, okay? We just need it to be functional. The pretty's on the outside. And if you pull it and it puckers like that, y'all see that? If you pull it and it puckers, just pull it back out. Alright, so I'm going to finish whip stitching this all the way around. And I guess the next thing is to put it on. What y'all think? Y'all ready to see this bad boy on? I know I'm ready to see it because I ain't looked at it. I have seen exactly what you guys have seen. Ain't that horrible? I didn't even take a sneak peek myself. Now let me tell you, whenever you catch this gray, this material's kind of funky. Don't catch it on the other side, okay? Make sure that you're just catching this side of the material, not poking it all the way through, okay? Because we want to leave this flat and have a finished edge. Alright, I'm going to get this done. I still got to do the other hand hole there. So I will catch you guys in just a minute. Let me finish this up. And then we're going to see what we done did. Because I hope I ain't royally screwed it up. I ain't looked at it. Okay, so there's one. And it is slightly off colored. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So over here, we've got to get these lined up. Alright guys, well, that is it. So it will clasp like that. I'm going to go to bed because I have been working on this thing for about 6 hours, give or take. Supper time, talking time, YouTubing time. I'm gonna go to bed. We have snow outside, so I am going to go outside and see if Stephen will take some pictures of me tomorrow wearing this. So hang tight and let's go take some pictures tomorrow. How about that? I think it would be pretty. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this and make one of your own. Till next time, bye.